Welcome to Economics Happy Hour. My name is Matt,
And my name is Jadrian.
and we are thrilled to have you here. We're recording this in August. We returned from the Jet Set conference, which hopefully you listened to the past two episodes where we recorded live from Jet Set. A couple of great interviews with Wayne and Abdullah. But have you have had a little bit of downtime since Jet Set, Jadrian?
Very little. So I think the week or two before Jet Set, I would work in the morning on personal stuff, like work related stuff, and then the afternoon it was Jet Set. I took a day off, and I am now back to getting ready for the fall.
Yeah.
So right by the time people are listening to this, I have already made my syllabus on my Canvas site and set everything up. But while Matt and I are recording it, I have not done any of that stuff, and so I have a busy
Yeah.
couple weeks ahead of me.
Yeah, I will have a very busy couple of weeks. Same thing. By the time people listen to this, we will have welcomed back all the students. All the classes will have started. And I will have actually brought a group over to London and come back, which, yeah, that's work. And the fact that that's called work, I know I'm lucky. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But it'll be a busy stretch, but I'm very much looking forward to that stretch. And, if you see me right after you listen to this, you can ask me how it was because I don't know right now.
It'll be
But
great. We both know it's going to be great.
it will be great. But one thing I do know is what I am going to be drinking. And this was a contribution, a beer I received at Jet Set from Tim Dye, super fan, podcast guest. If you didn't catch that one, you should go back to the archives. We'll also put it in the notes. This is Skyline Falls Brothers Craft Brewery Misty India Pale Ale that Tim gave to me, and I learned moments ago from Jadrian. I have somebody else to thank. Jadrian, I'll hand it off to you now.
So yeah, Matt and I were a little confused because Tim very kindly said, "Hey, I have some beers for you. I threw them in your car." And when Matt and I got into our cars, we each had like 7 or 8 beers in our car, and I was like, "Tim did not." He told us he only gave us like 2 or 3 beers. Why are there 7 of them in there? And then we learned later that a portion of this contribution came from Lauren Shiflett, who works with John Krugel at the James Madison Center, Center for Econ Ed. And her, I'm going to say husband because I'm pretty sure I've been told it was her husband. And if it's her brother, I'm going to feel really awkward. But I'm pretty sure it's her and her husband own a brewery. And so we got some beers from Harrisonburg, which is right between Matt and I. So I'm not drinking that today. I was not prepared for that one. I have something completely different. So Matt, if you want to share your beer first, I can go second because I'm excited to tell you mine.
Skyline Falls Brothers
That's
Craft
right.
Brewing, Skyline Falls Misty India Pale Ale.
Well, so Matt, my surprise was I'm also going to drink an IPA with you.
We're converting you.
I don't know about that, but I have been waiting for so long to share this with you because Matt, today I am drinking a non-alcoholic hazy
Nice.
IPA. So you talked me into it. I have an Athletic Brewing Company. What do I got? Free Wave Hazy IPA, non-alcoholic beer. Because Matt had this, oh man, moons ago, right? Many episodes ago, Matt told me how great these were. And Matt, I threw them in one of my Pick Six packs when I went to Kroger. I was like, I'm going to drink one of these with Matt.
Nice.
And then, the summer's been good to me. I got one that was like a lime one that was really good. So I had to drink some of them before I got to talk to you about it. But I've been saving the IPA so that I could drink
I appreciate that. The story behind this, and we are not sponsored yet.
Not yet.
By Athletic Brewing. Athletic Brewing, if you're listening, sponsorship opportunity available. But I ended up buying it by mistake from a store, and it was non-alcoholic. And then when I thought, I want to cut back a little bit, the non-alcoholics are great. I'll often, actually, many nights I will have one regular beer, but then also a non-alcoholic beer instead of saying maybe 2 beers.
Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed the other two, so I'm excited for this one. And part of the other perk of this, and I don't know how much this actually matters, I guess, in the grand scheme of what I'm about to tell you. Oh, no, I will. I think this is good. I also, for the first time in 4 years, went to the gym yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah, clothes are fitting a little tighter than they used to. So I figured, I had plenty of excuses. So 2020, I think I had a really good excuse in 2020.
Yeah.
And even 2021. Yeah, I felt okay. I was, there's a lot of walking that happened after the pandemic. So I think I was okay. Then I moved to Virginia in 2022. No, then that's when it all went downhill. And last year, tough. So I have come up with lots of excuses on why I couldn't go to the gym. And so I figured, why not, right before the start of the semester, weave this in. So I've got it blocked off in my calendar when I'm going to go. We're starting small, cut back on sodas. Big. Okay. I don't know if you noticed this during Jet Set. You probably didn't see me with a soda.
I didn't see you with the soda.
Yeah, I love Coca-Cola. So cut back on those. I now get the little mini cans to
Okay.
help me out. Um, Cutting back on beer. So those of you who drank with me at Jet Set probably just had a flight or a beer, whereas I would normally have a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, just trying to cut back, right? It's
Yep.
trying to change the diet a little bit, try to go to the gym a little bit,
We
kind of
know, we know we've
these
done
hands to
episodes
fit.
on this of commitment devices. So any
Yeah.
sort of commitment device or goal you want to set, like I
I
would set one with
yes.
you for according, this is one of the things that if you're not older yet, like in later 40s, getting older is not fun. So I'm supposed to lose a few pounds just to maybe help blood pressure. So if you did
Yeah.
something like a 5 pound or challenge or something, I would do a 5 pound challenge or something to give up.
Let me do this with you, Matt. How about I'll do a commitment advice with you on the spot because I am serious about it. I really do want to lose this weight. I don't know how much I currently weigh.
Okay.
Um, I have a ballpark of what I weigh. Because I tend to I've been told I'm a very like I'm bulky. Like I
Yeah.
don't I have bulky shoulders and stuff. So I weigh more than what I think my BMI
Yeah.
would
Yep. Yep. No,
indicate.
I understand. And I'm in the same spot.
Yeah, I have broad shoulders. So I would really love by the end of the year to lose, I mean, at least 10 pounds.
Okay.
Um, Feels like a reasonable goal. I got August, September, October. Yeah, I think that's a safe and healthy amount.
So
Um,
I will I'll say I'll do one by November and I'll preface in February I was 215.
okay,
Um and the goal was to lose 15 pounds in 3 months and I lost about 7 to 8. So
okay,
I got halfway there. And it did actually help with blood pressure
yeah,
ratings. It did help. And they say about every pound. So I would like to lose about 7 more. So I
okay,
would like to be down to I'll say 201.
yeah. I was
And
like,
my goal, I have a doctor's appointment in early November. So mine is maybe a little bit, I think it's like 7 pounds, but I'm going to go for, say, an early November. It's whenever I have to go back to the doctor.
okay. I would love to get down to 200. I don't think I can safely get down to that by the end of the year because that's why I went with a more conservative
No,
answer.
no.
I'm probably around 225, 230
Well, the
ish.
goal is to be smart, right? Like I know people have done crazy ones, and I know if I needed to in 2 days, I could lose 7 or 8 pounds. That's not the goal. The goal is lifestyle changes,
Yeah.
changing things to be smart. There's a lot of ways you can be unhealthy with weight, and one of them is crash diets, right?
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
No.
I need a healthy, slow progress.
So what is our commitment device here? Is it in the past I've said I would give like $100 to students, and they
This,
would
yeah, this is where I was going. I'll donate some money. So I think we've talked in the past of donating to a political group
okay,
that I would not normally support.
yeah,
I'm happy to make a donation on a differing political topic that you agree with. You know what though? I'm also happy just to donate money to Susquehanna. So I will happily give money to I'll set it. Yeah, I'll set it up as I will donate $100 to Susquehanna.
Sigmund Weiss School of
You
Business
pick the
would.
cause.
I
Yeah.
hope you don't pay that, but I could do the same to the Department of Economics at Virginia Tech.
Actually, you know what? How about I said it this way? If I do make it, I'll donate my money to Virginia Tech. If I don't make it, I'll
Okay,
give my money to you. That
that's
way, I have
fair.
a little bit of a fight to give it to my students rather than to give it to your students.
That's fair. That's fair. I could say
That
the
way,
same.
both groups win. So somebody's gonna
Yeah.
get money, and I'll work hard to make sure it's my students who get it instead of yours.
Yeah, I like what you say. I'll do the same, and not that I don't want to. Yeah, I'm happy to help out, but you don't want the thing like saying I couldn't achieve this.
I couldn't achieve it. So
That's
now I
what
gotta
you
pay
don't
for
want to
it.
do. You don't want to write a check when you couldn't achieve something.
Yeah,
But okay,
that's
so
what I'll do.
we've got
If I don't
something
make it, I'll
set.
give the student. I'll give the money to your students. If I do make it, I'll give it to mine.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to play side bets on whether either or both of us will make it, please leave it in the comments so I can be entertained. So
Okay,
uh,
Tim. I'll go 10 pounds, and Matt, I'll go up and I'll weigh myself after this. I'll send you a
yeah,
text.
mine is quite pretty simple. I want to be down to 201 on my scale, and I will send afterwards. I'll send a photo of where I am now, so we can put it in the show notes and people can track.
I'm happy to share my weight. It doesn't bother me. I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't bother me because I know I need to lose it.
yeah.
Let myself get away a little bit too much.
No, I've been there. Healthy is good. So
So
well,
Matt,
go ahead, go ahead.
that's good. We have Matt and I finally came to a point. You guys have heard interviews for the past I don't know what months. I feel like we've been dropping interviews for a while.
Yes,
And Matt and I realized you don't know our story. We
it's
ask,
true.
I think, every one of our guests, how'd you get into economics? Where'd you go to school? You probably know a little bit about Matt and I in terms of where we went to school, but you don't know our story behind economics. So Matt and I figured we would sort of interview each other as though we were interviewing our guests and have that same sort of conversation where you
Yeah.
get to hear about why I chose economics, why Matt chose economics, and why both of us think you should choose economics if you're a student listening, or if somebody who's just thinking about taking another econ class, why you should pick economics.
Absolutely. And I'm very intrigued because I got a hint at the reason Jadrian mentioned that the reason he chose is not the same reason that I would have likely chosen. So I'm very excited to hear the answer. So would you like to go first? The first thing I guess I will ask is when was your first economics class?
So I did high school in Texas, which means that I was required to take an economics course
Okay.
as part of a graduation requirement. However, and I will preface if she's listening to this, I don't think she is, but if she is listening to this, my first econ teacher was awful. She is an incredibly great person. She was the athletic trainer. I'm friends with her. She's great, like absolutely amazing person, but she was a fresh graduate from Baylor University who was not an econ major. She was just a business major, and she had to teach the economics course because she was the closest one. We did not learn any economics. I
Okay.
only know this fully in hindsight. We basically took a marketing course because that's what I think she was actually a marketing major. That's what she felt comfortable teaching. So she sort of taught the marketing side of economics. It
Okay.
was technically an AP course, which is
Oh
going to
boy.
probably make some of our AP faculty cringe a little bit. But no, we did not really take an economics course. So that was my first one. And
Okay.
then I took it in college, didn't love it. They weren't a very good teacher either. So I really didn't take my first one until intermediate micro. What about you?
I had none in high school in Minnesota. At least not to my knowledge. If I did, it tells you how little I was paying attention in high school. And it was second semester of freshman year. I was planning to take a computer science class. I went into there and I was like, wow, this is a foreign language. And no, I'm not going to do this. And dropped that. And Principles of Micro had a slot open, which is usually a sophomore level class. And that was Dr. Randall Waldron, who is still teaching today, no longer at South Dakota. I believe he's still teaching. Every now and then I see him on LinkedIn. And I, he started presenting, and to me, I was just blown away. I was like, this explains everything on how the world works.
Mhm.
I was absolutely floored at it. I was an accounting and mass communications major probably about the first week I was in that class, and then the second mass communications class I dropped. So I was an accounting major at the time. And I loved the class and I did really well. It was the first time I'd ever set a curve in a class. I took the test. I thought I got 100 on the test. I was like, I killed this thing. I did so well. And then the professor started by just putting every score on the board. And it goes up, and there's lots of very, very bad scores. And then with two left, he puts up like a 76 and an 84. And I was like, I thought I'd had 100 on this thing. What's going on? Well, I did set the curve, and I did better than the others, but I absolutely loved the class. But it did take me a while before I ended up declaring a major. But
Mm.
we'll pause on that. So you had it in high school, and then you had some others.
Yeah, so I was a business major. I thought I wanted to own my own restaurants. That was my dream. I worked in restaurants in high school, loved the fast-paced environment. So I was a Sam Houston State offered a general business degree, which I was 18, first gen student.
Yep,
That sounded right to me.
sure.
Um,
It's a good. Well, and it is a good major, right?
yeah,
It's a great major.
aced all my first semester courses, and then met with the advisor, and she kind of looked at me and said, "This is not a normal major for somebody who's like in the honors program 4.0." She's like, "You should really try to think about like specializing in something." And she's like, "You can still take all the other accounting, finance, all that stuff." She's like, "But you have the space. Why don't you just do like management or something?" So I was like, "Sure, right." That's what my advisor said. So I was a management major, which means I did have to take the principles courses. The principles of micro course. She was very nice woman. Did not do a good job. She was sort of an adjunct who sometimes had class, sometimes didn't have class. She was very popular on Rate My Professor, which I found out why, because she just never taught class. She canceled it all the time.
Oh,
Yeah, it's one of those popular ones. took principles. I got an A, so that was great. Took principles of macro. Lovely man, absolutely love him. He came to Jet Set last year. I don't know if you actually got to meet him,
Hmm.
but he got tenure that spring semester. So he was in a good mood and he went easy on us. So didn't really get a good principles of macro class either. And it Sam Houston State, I think, is very unique in this space. So economics is offered in their business school. They required when I was a student. I don't know that it's still the case, but when I was a student, they required all business majors, all management majors to take principles of micro, principles of macro, intermediate micro, labor economics, and managerial economics. So all management majors had to take 5 economics courses,
Okay.
which I have at all of the 3 previous universities I've been at, they only have to take principles. And so, Matt, I'm assuming is Susquehanna the same? Like,
Susquehanna's only principles. I went
yeah.
to a school where it was where you had to take, everybody had to take intermediate micro and
Mhm.
money and banking
Okay. Yeah.
as that. So I went to one where it was a little bit more as
Yeah.
well.
No, I taught HR management majors when I was at Penn State, and it was shocking. They used to require labor economics, and then they got rid of it. And I was just surprised. Like, it's surprising to me that no management majors have to take at least labor economics or
Sure.
some version of it instead. So it was actually, and this is what I was saying before our meeting. The reason that I picked economics is probably not a reason that people should pick economics, and that was because of intermediate micro.
Okay.
I loved it. It was perfect. And I remember the question because I still ask it in my principles class, like a sort of a watered down version of it. Um, it was this chance where like I really liked math. I liked calculus, but
Yep.
it was sort of this like calculus and decisions, and it all was coming together, and I could see the math behind it. And I remember the question of basically he gave us sort of he gave us a demand function and a cost equation, and basically said, what's the break even price? And it was sort of the challenging question at the end of the exam. And it was like, it just clicked. I was like, oh, I need to take the derivative and I need a demand function. And I was just like,
Yeah.
it's sort of like that, that, what's that movie? A Beautiful Mind, right? Where all the equations
Sure,
are going on.
sure.
And like, that was me. I
That's very
loved
cool.
it. So I minored in economics. That was the
Okay.
start of it. And then it was only after I joined the tutoring lab and I took a labor economics course that I absolutely loved. And it was in the tutoring lab where I was like, I'd really love to do this for a living. I don't want to be a management major. I was a marketing major briefly, and
Hmm.
I dropped that within like weeks. Same reason I think yours is I sat there and I go, this is dumb. Nothing a marketing major, sorry. I thought it was econ, like hidden behind marketing. So yeah, I knew I wanted to teach, so I got really lucky, I think.
Yeah.
Everything kind of fell into the right place and had a lot of great opportunities, but it was really intermediate micro that kind of
Intermediate
hooked me
micro
in.
was it? Yeah. And I actually loved the marketing stuff. And I loved the mass communications, and actually doing the podcast in many ways is the interest I had as a 17 and 18 and year old in that.
Yeah.
But I was in class 2 and realized this major is definitely not for me. So I was accounting. I took all of principles of micro, loved it.
Mhm.
But didn't think about changing a major. I was an accounting major. I took principles of macro then and didn't love it quite as much, but as we've talked many times, I like micro more than macro, but I still enjoyed it, and I still did I still did very, very well in it. And
So Matt, I don't know if you picked that up. I became an econ major between my junior and senior year. I went 3 full
okay. I
years.
didn't pick that up. I would have thought
Yeah,
that was junior year, which is when I
it would be
actually
the
switched into it.
for me. It was so I was a general business major the first year, a management major the second year, a marketing and management
Major.
major for the
Jeez.
third year. And then it was at the end of my third year that I was like, I really like economics, and so like I canceled my internships for the summer. I took like 4 summer classes. But it
That
goes back to that other part.
that's
Management
a
majors were
devotion.
required to take labor,
Yeah.
managerial, and intermediate micro. So I already had like a good chunk of the way towards the economics degree. Like I didn't have
Yep.
to take that many more. So I got a summer version of intermediate macro. It was
That was something.
brute force. So
That's funny.
that was tough. That class is still one of the toughest ones.
So it's interesting because I decided to switch in the money and banking class.
Mhm.
Once again, it was the test went up and I thought I did great on the test. And he puts the scores up, and I thought I got a perfect score. And this time I did get a perfect score and it was a 40 out of 40. And the next highest was a 36, and the next highest was a 32. And then nobody else was above a 28. So I like this didn't happen in any other subject. So I had this aptitude for it. So I finally was thinking through and, talking to my parents, and I'm like, well, maybe I should go at least talk and explore what this economics thing is. And I went and talked to the professor, and they go, well, I've been out for a while, but you should go talk to Randall Waldron, who's the one who taught my two principles classes, who I really liked. And I talked to him, and I was like, so what does it mean to be an economist? And he said, well, first of all, you getting the undergrad degree wouldn't mean that. But with your grades and your aptitude,
Yeah.
somebody would likely pay you to go to grad school, and then you could be a professor. You could maybe work in government. You could work in consulting. Um, and I'm just like, wait a sec, paid to go to school? How does
Like
that
a
work? And
dream.
he explained it. And I saw my future wife, we had been dating about 2 months at the time, and I told her I had this talk. I'm like, so I'm not really sure yet, but this sounds interesting. And she goes, "You're sure you're gonna switch?
Mhm.
You've never seen you this excited about something." So, and yeah, I switched over, and that's it. But you wouldn't. Is it safe to say if it was Sam Houston State, right? If
I know what
Sam
question.
Houston,
I know what question you're going to ask me. Yeah,
yeah,
ask me.
if they only had principles of micro and principles
Uh-huh.
of macro required, would you be an economist right
No,
now?
absolutely not. No, I
And
can, I can, I can want to. I am. I think those of you who have, I've talked about this on Twitter before. I've talked about it with other people. Sam Houston State absolutely changed my life, and I've talked to the
yep,
dean about this. There, I've gone back and talked to them about it. Um, there's a really cool data set, and I wish I could go find it. I think the Department of Education puts it together. You can actually see sort of grad outcomes of students. So essentially, you can see like how many people from a certain university go on to get a master's or a PhD. So it's sort of like a pipeline
yeah,
tracking
yep,
thing. And I remember looking at it a couple of years ago, and there are exactly four PhD. There are four people who have gotten a PhD in economics that came from Sam Houston State University.
okay, wow,
I know I'm one of them, so that's an easy one. My intermediate macro instructor, Mark Tuttle, he's the other one. So he went to Tennessee and then came back. I went to school. I like at the same time I was there with Zach Bethune, and he's sort of bounced around, and he's about the same age as me. And then the other one was from like 1960.
okay,
They did not. It was just not a pipeline program.
yeah,
And it was things like so. Darren Grant was my sort of my main undergraduate advisor. Not really like a paper advisor, but sort of he started the tutoring center, and he basically asked around and said, who are the good students who can work in the tutoring center, and he let me do it.
yeah,
I was the department assistant, so I had this, in my opinion, great resume because I was a tutor and an undergrad assistant, and I worked on a research project with him because he really sort of recognized that our program did not prepare students to go to grad school. We did not have a lot. I
sure,
had business calculus, right? Basic statistics, applied stats. He sort of recognized that I wouldn't go to grad school with the normal degree, so he sort of,
yep,
I didn't realize it in the moment, was kind of grooming me to go to grad school. And they've since fixed that. I actually went and looked. The management program does not require all that econ
okay,
anymore, but the econ program has more math in it. They have an applied economics track, things like that. But no, absolutely not. If
yeah,
they had a different curriculum, I would have just been a management major. I probably would have nothing wrong with this. Again, it's just not for me. I would have been managing like a Walgreens. I think that was actually my internship. Because I want to be close to home. That I'd be a manager of some company
yeah,
probably. And I don't think I would be as happy as I am with the job that I have.
yeah, yeah, that's fair. I don't know. It's interesting. It took me until junior year to take it. Would have I somehow stumbled into a different econ class, you know, just because I
I,
maybe I would have, and I think if I would have, then I would have picked it up if I had somehow
yeah.
stumbled into any other econ class, because I likely would have done very well again. And then that would have prompted me to ask the question, what does an economist do?
Well, and I was gonna say, I don't necessarily think that, and this goes back to actually, this is a preview of what we talked about before. I don't
Mm,
think every student should take intermediate micro. The reason I fell in love with it is not what I tell students.
yeah,
I think you could get that same sort of aha moment by taking like a managerial economics course,
sure.
sort of a very introductory, a little bit of game theory, a little bit of cost stuff,
Yeah,
markets. I think sort of an in but our intermediate micro is very math heavy. It requires two calculuses. I think that's too much, even for like I think about it from our econ minors. It's probably too
yeah,
much. But managerial economics required for management majors, I don't think that's a big ask.
yeah. And I'm
I
a dean of a business school, and we only have the two
yeah.
for everything outside of economics. The money in banking works actually quite well, I think, for business majors because it really forces you to think about
Yeah.
the relationships between government decisions and interest rates and the economy
Yeah.
and the money supply and banking system. And that one is interesting. And I don't know of many other business schools that have that as a requirement. Now, I'm sure I know there are some, but
Mhm. No,
it's
I
interesting.
get frustrated with this is where it's tough now that we're actually in the now that I'm in academia, I understand why things are set up the way that they're set up. I understand the fighting and the money and all that sort of stuff. But I look at, the story that I tell students. So at Virginia Tech, we are not in the College of Business, we're in the College of Science. I actually think that plays to our strength in one very particular way, and that is that our students don't have college level requirements. And so, what I always tell students when they're thinking about, should I do econ or should I do finance? I say, well, think about it this way: the first year you're taking your gen eds. I go in the business school. The second year you're taking your business gen eds. You're taking your accounting and your finance and your management and your marketing. And I go, if you're a finance major, you might not take your electives till your junior year. In econ, you start taking them your sophomore year. You get to do it a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I understand the purpose of them. Like I understand why a business major needs to take accounting, why they need to take ethics. I understand why, but I think about that as I'm like, is that the best course to have in the core requirements?
I've
Like,
thought a
what?
lot about core requirements,
I
and
don't
I
know,
mean
right?
the trade-off that we face that I'll go to finance, which I know pretty well and have had the discussions with them. If somebody knows they're going to be a finance major, what we will usually try to do is move financial accounting to second semester of first year,
Mhm.
and then corporate financial management first semester of sophomore year, which is normally a junior level class. But the reason we do that is to get students as much finance as they could get in order to be prepped for a potential internship. But yeah, there's lots of trade-offs. There's the question that our faculty ask collectively: what is it that every business major should know? And of course, the list is way more than what we can
Yeah.
put in the core. But you try to put together a core that hits a lot of the different topics. So you came out of when I'll ask a related question so that we know how you became a major. I became a major and I decided I was going to grad school at the same moment. Like, and
Same.
I had
It was
never
me the same.
fathomed grad school ever. And it was just like, this is amazing. I know what I'm doing with my life and I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
Before I was going to get a job and be an accountant. And I know, they made money and I'd be able to eat. And that was good. I'd be able to have shelter, housing, clothing, take a vacation. Life would have been perfectly fine. But it didn't excite me about
Mhm.
that. Always jealous of the people who just really get excited about accounting, especially in academia, because if you just adore accounting, there is a demand and supply mismatch
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
professor's favor for accounting.
No, mine was the
But
same. I switched at the same time.
okay,
I remember I was in the tutoring center teaching a student some concept. I'm pretty sure I remember who the student is because we're friends. That made it also sort of weird, right? Like I'm tutoring my friends
yeah, yeah,
who are in the same class, but I'm pretty sure I remember who it was. And they basically just said, "You explain this so well. Like you're so good at explaining this concept." And
mm,
basically they said something along the lines of like, I wish you were the professor because you can explain it so well." And that was the moment where I was like, I really enjoy this. Like
yeah,
I liked not knowing what the student was going to come in and ask me. I liked knowing how the professor explained it, but explaining it a different way. And then that was the moment where I just sort of said, "Let me change it all," because
yeah,
I looked and I was like, I can't get a PhD in economics as a management major. And so I was like, that's when I added it.
yeah. No, that's interesting. I don't think that our paths were the paths of most in
Uh,
how it comes about.
but you know what? At the same time, a lot of the students that I mentor, in terms of helping prep them for grad school, I don't think they're the same. Nobody has the same path.
Nobody has the same
I'm
path.
always shocked at how many emails I get at sort of the start of the last year where they go, I think I want to major in economics. Or sorry, I want to go to grad school in economics. I start having
Yeah,
this flashback of like, oh God, like this is me, but you're too far behind. You needed to tell me this like 4 months ago,
yeah,
and
yeah.
we could have prepped things. So I think there's a lot of people who don't. This is maybe big story, big picture wise. It's okay if you're a first year student or you're a high school student and you don't know what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Yep.
Um, Trust me, the people who think they know what they're going to do probably are going to change their mind too.
Yeah.
So you might as well go into it with an open
Well, and
mind.
that was both of us, right? We
Right,
thought we
find
knew.
something else you want to do. So
But So similarities, well, you were a senior, I was a junior, so it was a little late when we switched. Differences, it sounds like you had three econ classes, quote unquote econ, as you've
Mhm.
said, that you weren't thrilled about before you loved it. When it was moments into my first economics class, and I thought, this
Yeah.
is incredible. Where has this been all my life? It was the coolest, and I couldn't believe. So that's, I guess, one difference. But once you hit intermediate micro, then that clicked in for you a little
For
bit.
me, the class that sort of solidified that I wanted to do it was labor economics. So I
Okay.
took that one in the summer. Or maybe I take it. Actually, I think I take it in the spring. So I think I was tutoring at the same time I was doing the labor economics. And my professor, Dr. Balderas, who is I had really great professors there. I
Yep.
really
Yep.
loved my time there. I remember all of them, and I go back and I try to thank them when I can. Was teaching about the marriage wage premium, and it blew my mind.
Yeah.
He's talking about, and for those of you who don't know, marriage wage premium is essentially, I'm gonna say premium because the way he taught it was from a male perspective, was basically if a man goes into an interview and has a wedding ring on, he is seen as reliable, trustworthy, good communicator, and he will often get paid higher wages than somebody who's you would think is single. But there's a marriage wage discount for women who go in with a wedding ring because there's this idea that they might leave or quit early and not want to, they're going to go to a family. And so he introduced signaling, this idea of like
Yeah.
what
Yep.
signal does a wedding ring send? And I just remember sitting there I'm not married, but I had friends who were married. I just remember sitting there going, "This is fascinating." Like I had never, I was so naive, right? I was a naive 20-year-old. I never thought about that, right? Because I'd taken the business ethics course and that said, don't treat people differently. Um, to
Yeah.
be fair, I
Yeah.
also grew up outside of Houston right after Enron. So business ethics had a very different, very different theme to it back then. Because in my mind, I was like, why would you treat people differently? Like, I had that sort of mindset because I didn't really know what was going on. And then just getting to hear him talk about these things, I was like, this is fascinating. The
Yeah.
backwards bending labor supply curve,
I loved
absolutely
that.
fascinating.
Yep.
This idea that like you make more money and you'll start working less. I'm close to 40. I absolutely understand it now.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
20-year-old though, you tell them like you can make $1 million a year. How many hours are you going to work? And they'd go, oh, I'd work 100 hours a week. No, you wouldn't. Like you'd
Yeah.
work a couple and then you'd quit.
Yeah. I actually I would do that. I will do that anytime I teach principles. I'll just do by show of hands. I'll list out different wages and say, how many hours per week would you work? And I'll start at $10 an hour, which is above minimum wage here, and then 15, and then 25, and 50, and then 100, and then 200, and then 1,000, and 2,000, and 10,000. And then I ask how many people had the number drop. And it's not everybody, but it's a decent subset that the number drops to teach the backward bending labor supply curve, which is, yeah, those
Labor,
are all just so much fun to teach.
labor.
We
So
should we should do we should do a separate episode that'll be in our, I've actually added it to our list
okay,
on, I think
good.
signaling and screening might be a very interesting one to do.
I think I taught labor economics at Penn State for like close to 10 years. I mean, it
Yeah,
is just, I'm gonna stand by it. I think so money in banking is a great course, but if you're a management major, you need to be in labor economics. Like I feel like it's just
yeah,
just the number of topics that are covered in that section. Whether it's education premiums, human capital investment, union impacts. There's just so much that a manager of a firm or of people would deal with or think about on a regular basis, and it's
sure.
labor
Yeah,
economics, such a great course.
it's
So
a
yeah,
great
I think we should
class.
definitely talk about it.
Yeah. Any final comments on your path to the econ major?
I'm gonna go back and just I'll say it as I think we've kind of weaved this in multiple ways. If you're a student, it's perfectly okay if you don't know what you want to do.
Yeah.
Perfectly okay. I ask a lot of my students, why'd you pick accounting? And the answer is almost always my parents are accountants, or my uncles and aunts are accountants. And I go, but do you like accounting? I
Yeah.
think they almost never say yes. They usually go with the answer of, well, it pays a lot of money. And I'm like, a lot of jobs do. You can do a lot of things. And so I think, what I try to tell my students is, find a major or find some sort of program that you are just super excited about, that you could go in every single day and not get burned out, that you want to learn more stuff about it, because you got to spend a long part of your time
Yeah.
doing this job. And so it helps when you're really excited about it. And I was not excited about those courses my first year. I was very excited my second year, but again, intermediate micro is not a course that it's not a course you look at and go, I know exactly how to use this in the workplace. So I
Yeah.
think, big picture, just it's okay if you don't know what you want to do. Take different courses. I pick on my students all the time when they sign up for the Easy A courses. If they're listening, they know exactly which courses upset me. When I see it on their transcript, I very kindly berate them. So I bully them a little bit. I'm like, get that off of your transcript. You do not need to take the history of marijuana for your course. Take something related to your interest. There are Easy A courses that are also like around your major. Take things that you're actually interested in. Don't just take it because everybody says it's an Easy A. I hate that. I hate
Yeah.
it so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, there's fun courses. The way I always tell them, people fail the Easy A courses because if they're not interested in it, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to
They're not going to
forget.
put in the work.
They're not going to put in the work. And I said, take a course that you're actually interested in, and then you'll
Yep.
put in the work. Even if it's a little harder, you'll put in the work, you'll get something out of it, and then it'll pay off. And so I would say that's my message. So if you're a student listening right now, avoid the Easy A classes. Take the courses that you're interested in and that you think you can learn something. It'll help you during your job interviews. You'll be able to talk about something, and you'll do a good job if you're interested in it.
Yeah. I completely echo the advice on one, don't sweat it. Taking interested in, I don't think it has to be related to the major. I
No,
wouldn't fault
it doesn't have
somebody
to.
who's an econ major who says, you know what, I'm in college and I also love art
Yeah.
and I want to take this art class.
Yes.
Yeah, you're in college
Take
and
it because you're interested in it. Don't
but
just
you're
take it because
interested
everybody
in
said
it.
it's an easy A. Like,
That's the key thing.
yeah,
Find something you're interested in. Don't just take the class that's easy. Nobody, 5 years later, nobody regrets taking, oh, I took the challenging professor and I learned so much, but I got a B plus and I probably would have gotten an A minus or an A. Nobody has ever regretted that. And I mean, you've probably had some of this too. People come back and you've had a lot of students that you don't remember and said, oh, you were tough, but I loved your class. I learned so much and I still think about it. And um, trust me, future you will thank you.
yes. That's what I'm
Future
talking
you will
about.
thank current
GPA
you.
wise,
Yeah.
there's no difference between an A and a B when you have 120 credits. It's
Yep.
not gonna. That's the difference between a 3.45 and a 3.44. Like, it doesn't matter.
It's not going to matter.
It doesn't matter. Take
It's good
something you're
advice.
interested in, something you're going to learn about. It's okay if it's a little challenging.
Yeah.
It's perfectly okay.
A future episode, we may discuss good reasons to pick econ.
Yeah,
That might be a future
I would say
one.
Matt and I did talking about that, but
Yeah.
we clearly didn't.
We had enough to go through our stories, but this was a fun conversation. Any pop culture that you want to highlight today? I could go if you're thinking. So
Let me think for a second, but I'll phrase this in a sense. I did find out during the course of our episode the question that we posed at the beginning of where your beer came from.
okay.
The Brothers Brewery, Lauren Shiflett is part of this connection.
Awesome.
It's Lauren's husband and his brother are the brothers.
Okay.
So it is not Lauren and her husband. So it's not Lauren and her brother. It's Lauren and her husband and her brother-in-law are the main people. So we
Yep.
I think that's what we went with at the beginning. And then I said it's just going to be real awkward if it's actually
If
the
it's
brother.
Lauren's brother, yeah, not
Yeah.
the spouse.
So it's
The beer has
brother-in-law.
been absolutely delicious. So thank you so much to Lauren.
It's summertime, so I'm drinking out of a red Solo cup.
Yeah.
So it's no this Athletic Brewery.
Athletic Brewing. So you like that one too?
Yeah, they've all been. There's like a lime one that was really good that I really.
I'm gonna have to try that. I haven't tried that yet.
So pop culture. What do you got?
I am working on a slide deck right now, and I'll be doing a song that'll go on Broadway Econ from Kimberly Akimbo. I don't think I brought this show up or the song up yet. But speaking of cool economic topics that made me just fall in love with the discipline, the song is titled "How to Wash a Check,"
Okay.
and it's a very naughty aunt essentially teaching a bunch of high school kids how to commit check fraud. And it's you say that and the song could be terrible or it could be fantastic, and the song is just it's a wonderful song. It's really catchy, it's really funny. By the time this episode drops, I hope to have an on Broadway economics so you can listen to it and see the lessons that relate to the economics of crime and the decisions. Like Gary Becker kind of helped found this, and the idea that criminals can be rational and what are the benefits of the crime versus the costs, which the cost is often the expected value of the probability of being caught times the punishment. So hopefully it should be up by the time this is out. In about a month. So go check it out on Broadway Economics. I'll probably also put it on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out there.
Sounds great. I will. I'll go with the Jet Set answer because I was
Awesome.
furiously searching through past episodes, and I don't think we've talked about this. So at Jet Set this past year, I tried not to present with people. So anytime anybody reached out and said, "You want to present?" I said, "No, I'm going to be way too busy." I agreed to one presentation, and that was with Derek D'Angelo, who has been a really great partner through the Foundation for Economic Education
Yep.
since, actually, I guess it's been almost a year now. I write my weekly newsletter. Derek and his team, the day the newsletter comes out, they put together a teaching companion for high school teachers, and they send that out Tuesday morning. I am regularly shocked. I don't know how they do it, but it's a really great resource. So if you're using my newsletter, this is also another great free resource that you can use. Derek gives you a quiz. Basically, you assign my article. Derek gives you a quiz, an answer key, assignments, stuff to do in class. It's really great. That's what we talked about during Jet Set, and I wanted to share the lesson that we talked about. So this came out over the summer. It was fascinating. I don't know if we've actually talked about it. It wasn't in our archive. Matt, did you go to my session or no? I probably should have asked you that first.
I didn't catch the session. I think was that in the afternoon on Friday?
It's a good question. No, I think it was in the
think I
morning on
might have.
Friday.
Okay, I was at a different session.
That's all right.
At the same time.
You were at the golf course session, I think, probably.
That was the afternoon, but it was
Okay.
with an author. It was with a famous
A colleague. It was a work trip.
Yeah, it was a work trip. We discussed some econ on that one, but yeah, there might have been a little round of golf at Jet Set.
So the clip that we showed was a TikTok video of two little kids in England who were the one girl was incredibly angry at the price of ice cream. Her mom had taken her and her sister to the park, and her mom was recording her and saying basically like, what's wrong with, like, what's going on? And she is just fuming about how the ice cream truck is selling ice creams with bubble gums for two of them for £9. And the van that goes through her home sells them for like 1 or 2, I'm guessing, pounds a piece. But since it's in British, it's a little harder for me to understand.
We'll pause right here.
Okay.
We're going to insert the clip right now.
Girls, what's just happened?
So, there's an ice cream van there selling just 2 ice creams with 2 chewing gums in it.
Yeah.
For bloody £9 for 2 of them.
£9 for 2?
Yeah, £9. That is going to get nowhere. One that comes on my street is either £1 a p or £2. That is going to get nowhere with that.
No, he ain't, is it?
No, he ain't.
That's well bad, isn't
Yeah, you
it?
should know. And he only does bloody card. Stood there with my cash. Bloody hell.
That's well bad, isn't it?
Bloody well bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, bet he can hear me.
No, it's fantastic. So we talked about anchoring, this idea that people can get really mad when they see a price and they are assuming some other price. So, right, she's used to 1 or 2 pounds a piece, and now all of a sudden it's $4.50 a piece, and that can make people really angry. And so Foundation for Economic Education, had put together a really cool worksheet that basically taught students about anchoring, this idea of giving them a real price and then asking them the price of a different product, and basically saying, like, it's kind of like the Price is Right game. Like, is this the right price or is it actually lower? And then sort of teaching them about this idea that we like to have some sort of, I try not to use the actual term, but an anchor in the price.
Sure.
That we kind of base our judgments on whether we think something's a good deal or a bad deal.
Yep.
There's some sort of information. So that was the pop culture that we did during the session. And I'm happy to link that stuff in the show notes.
That's
too.
cool. And big shout out. Derek's awesome.
Yeah.
James, last name, I'm going to say it confidently, but even though I might butcher it, Rettelsheimer is also awesome. Both of them were at Jet Set, and it was wonderful to connect with them both again. The people at FEE do wonderful work.
Really
the ability to turn around your newsletter in 24 hours for teachers is your newsletter is an amazing service to society, and in terms of like how it helps to teach the public. And then them realizing that, and in 24 hours taking it so teachers can use instant things in the classroom it's really incredible, and it speaks well to kind of all the people in the econ ed community.
Absolutely.
Well, I will raise an empty glass. Thank you for the beer at Jet Set. We've got to have Jet Sets more often, I think.
I think so. Cheers, man.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Cheers.